honorable judges, ladies and gentlemen. Well, do you still believe that a rabbit lives on the moon? Well, when I was a little boy, I used to think so. And I thought that the rabbit was making rice cake or omochi on the moon. But now, as you all know, the American astronauts have walked on the moon. And the surface of the moon turned out to be something like the surface of my face, with pimples and everything. So it is very difficult for us to imagine that there is a rabbit up there. In fact, I'm not really sure if this fairy tale of the rabbit will be passed on to the next generation or not. The children will think of the astronauts landing on the moon instead of the rabbit making rice cake on the moon. Recently, I had a chance to talk about this Apollo project with some adults. One of them said, "It's really wonderful the way Americans are exploring space. But I wonder how they make up for the expenditure." Then the other continued, "Yes, there's nothing up there but rocks. Besides, they can't use the moon as a territory." So please imagine my disappointment on hearing the rest of the conversation, all about the expenditure and the profit concerned with the moon. So I said to them, "Let's not be too realistic. The moon has to be beautiful." But they smiled and said to me calmly, "Well, you are too romantic." Yes, I may be a little romantic, and I often enjoy gazing at the moon, especially full moon. And recently, as I look at the moon, however, I can't help thinking of the rocket and the astronauts, for I am a member of this modern society. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are living in the 20th century, and in this century, science has developed so remarkably that the moon is no longer a romantic fairy tale. The fast developing science has made it possible for us human beings to land on the moon. And this development of science can be seen everywhere. Well, for example, nowadays, computers help us find our ideal lovers, as you can see on TV. Or newly invented teaching machines can instill difficult English words and phrases into our memory while we are sleeping. Well, how wonderful the development of science can be. However, let's stop for a moment to think of it more deeply. In the shadow of this modern civilization, something valuable has disappeared, or is now disappearing. Something like the rabbit who used to live on the moon. Something like the moon which changed itself into a pimpled face. This is the shadow of modern civilization blotting out the spiritual ease from our minds. And people are very busy in this society. And people are desperate. People are only looking for material wealth, materialistic wealth, at the cost of their life. So, no matter how far we develop in science, such development will be a curse unless it be backed up by the spiritual development. So, our minds should not be occupied by the realities of life only. There must be room enough for dreams in our minds so that we can develop spiritually. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe most of you have watched that historical step taken by Mr. Armstrong, one of the astronauts. That one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. But now, it's all up to us whether that historical step will lead us to peace or that will lead us to the destruction of mankind. Well, there was no rabbit on the moon, but I'm sure that the rabbit is still living somewhere, maybe in our minds. So let us not kill the rabbit, and let us see that that historical step will lead us to peace. Thank you very much.